Last week I was at the American Atheist National Convention, which this year happened to be in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I knew it would be interviewing interesting people like I did with Phil Ferguson and Eddie Tabush regarding current affairs and the State of the Union. But as it was the capital of Minnesota, I thought I might be able to meet with their governor, Tim Walz, who was our candidate for vice president in the last election, and I hope it won't always be our last election. I like Walz more than Kamala. I knew there was virtually no chance that I'd ever be able to just walk into the governor's office and just catch him with a moment to talk, especially on the Friday before Easter. But it still seemed like a good Friday to try for. I reached out to that office for more than a month trying to schedule something, but I couldn't even get a human response until the day before, saying he can't make it, but he sends his regrets. I'm not disappointed. I had realistic expectations. But I had the most softball question for him, too. Where would the United States be now if Tim Walz was VP instead of JD? Meaning, if Harris had won the election. Because I remember all those people who apparently believed Trump when he said that if we elected Harris, then the economy would crash. Remember when he said that? Remember when Trump said that if we elect Kamala, that she would crash the economy?
Trump cash versus Kamala crash. We're going to have a crash like 1929 if she gets in. It will not be pretty.
So you all believed the most pathologically dishonest president ever. A man who said he would run the country like a company, but he has already bankrupted every company he has ever run. You elected a criminally corrupt incompetent, and he crashed the economy. What a surprise. Y'all gave the excuse that you voted with your pocketbooks. Well, how's that working out for you? Need I remind you that the Biden administration began at the height of a global pandemic that wrecked the economies of every nation around the world. People blamed Biden for the resulting inflation, but no, that began during Trump's watch. Remember, Trump had just disbanded the pandemic response team shortly before this pandemic began. And then he lied to us, and he said that it would all go away on its own in just a matter of weeks, and by springtime, when it warms up, with hardly any effect. Then 250,000 people died in the U.S. alone. Remember when Trump called for COVID testing to stop? He was using the excuse that if you test more people, then you'll find more infections. Outrageous. He would rather let another 250,000 people die than for him to look bad. Then, of course, Trump suggested that people deal with viral infection by taking livestock dewormer, or by injecting bleach, or by shining ultraviolet light into the insides of our bodies, because he really is that damn dumb. Honestly, the only things that I find impressive about Trump is, one, that he is impressively stupid, even among stupid people. And two, that he does not have any positive characteristics whatsoever. I could say something nice about Nixon or Hitler, a vegetarian artist who loves dogs, but I can't think of anything nice to say about Trump, who hates animals as much as he hates people. He is everything we teach our children not to be. The point is that while Trump rode the financial success of the Obama administration, which now under Trump was already slowing down even before the pandemic hit, Joe Biden then inherited a demolished global economy and had to scramble to fix it, which he did immediately and extremely well. Under Joe Biden, the United States experienced the best economic recovery of any nation, because while it was still tough everywhere at once, here in the U.S. we had it better than anywhere else. That's why The Economist declared the U.S. economy under Biden to be the envy of the world. Of course, that was last year. And this is how they view us now, with Trump isolating us from all of our former trading partners, doing what he did last time he was president, acting like one of our enemies, turning his back on our allies, spitting on the Constitution, and trying to bring everything he touches to ruin. This isn't new either. There have been 10 transitions in party ownership of the presidency since World War II. 5 times a Democrat succeeded a Republican, and growth rates increased. 5 times a Republican succeeded a Democrat, and growth rates fell. This is such a well-established pattern that even Trump knows about it.
And I've been around for a long time, and it just seems that the economy does better under the Democrats than the Republicans. Now, it shouldn't be that way. But if you go back, it just seems that the economy does better under the Democrats.
It's rare that Trump ever says anything true. So let's listen to this rare exception. Ever since Truman's era, the economy has grown more under Democratic presidents. More people are employed under Democrats, while unemployment gets worse under Republicans. The national debt and inflation rates both typically increase more under Republicans because they use different strategies than Democrats do. Trickle-down Reaganomics never worked, but they're still trying it because it benefits the rich and no one else, and because the rich own and control everything. So, screw you. Still, real wage growth is stronger under Democrats, especially for middle and lower income workers, while income inequality under Republicans gets worse, because that's been part of their plan for decades, to minimize or eliminate the middle class and to divide the nation into the haves and the have-nots. Because for most of my lifetime, the Dems have been more about we the people, while Republicans increasingly favor elites in an oligarchy. And that's why Dems tended to spend money on things like infrastructure and increasing health care, especially for lower income people, while Republicans offer tax cuts to the super rich, which of course leads to larger deficits. I'm not just saying that we are economically better off under Biden or Obama or Clinton, even though that is true. There were other benefits too. But someone asked me, what did Biden ever do for the average American? And the answer is more than Trump will ever do. For one thing, Biden provided a historic expansion of the child tax credit, leading to the lowest child poverty rate in American history in 2021. Biden also made huge improvements to the environment and infrastructure, work that should be ongoing, except that Trump is now trying to stop it all. The Biden-Harris administration has broken ground on projects creating hundreds of thousands of well-paying jobs to rebuild our roads and bridges, upgrade transit and rail, modernize ports and airports, deliver clean and safe water, clean up legacy pollution, expand access to high-speed internet, lower energy costs, and build a clean energy economy. Trump has done the very opposite in every case, eliminating hundreds of thousands of jobs just by closing down government offices like the Food and Drug Administration, so that we can't even trust our water anymore. The job of any administration should be to improve or at least preserve our quality of life. But Trump doesn't care about that. He doesn't care about you, nor for any of us. He and his billionaire oligarchs just don't want to pay their part for the systems that they rely on. And more importantly, though, Trump's ridiculous tariff war has done more damage to the American economy than anything else I can think of that ever has or could have. Because of his wholly unnecessary, uninstigated international hostility, Japanese car manufacturers, Nissan and Subaru, are closing all their U.S. plants, costing us Americans 40,000 jobs and $10 billion in revenue. That's just two companies out of many, from just one nation out of many, that are all unloading their American currency, devaluing the dollar, and writing us off. This means permanent damage to our status on the world stage, such that the U.S. is no longer anything we might have once bragged about it being. We will no longer be the world's leading economic superpower. We will go the way of Rome and Athens. Our time is done. We were brought down by one man, and a very dumb decision to vote for. We're not even a free country anymore. Trump has long been gunning for every single provision of the First Amendment, and now we even have states declaring allegiance to a particular religion, while the government erects a task force to target anti-Christian bias. So we are losing our freedom of religion and our freedom of speech, since we can now be arrested or sued by the government, and peaceable assembly is going away too. That's why Trump is withholding funds from our Ivy League universities. He wants fearful minions who know their place, and if we don't, we'll be whisked off to some foreign prison without due process, which is the thing that defines whether we have a free country or not. That's gone. Trump is also attacking the Ivy League because he doesn't like smart people. Coincidentally, smart people don't like Trump. It wasn't the smart people who voted for him. If you thought you were smart when you voted for him, then you should already know better than that by now. That was a stupid thing to do. If you voted for Trump, then you voted for this dystopian failure of forced conformity, where the government is now targeting its own citizens. Quite the opposite of everything America was supposed to be. If you didn't vote, And that's why Trump won, because nearly a third of the people voted for him. Another third, nearly a third, voted for Kamala. And then another third, a full third, stayed home. There were more people that didn't vote at all than who voted for either candidate. When you don't vote, this is what you get. And if you voted, but you didn't vote for Kamala, then you voted for Trump. And don't pretend as if Jill Stein is any sort of an option. She's there only as a distraction for fence sitters. She dines with Putin just like the rest of them. If there's a ranked voting option, then you can vote third party. Otherwise, the way our system is set up, a vote for anyone other than Kamala may as well be a vote for Trump. Now think for a moment. What if you had voted for Kamala? And I mean collectively. What if, like most of us, voted for Kamala? Even if you don't like her. Don't care. We would have gotten some of our rights back. You would still have a job if you worked for the government. And there's a lot of other places that are losing their jobs too. If you work for Nissan or Subaru, or you would at least still have more money regardless. And we would have had improvements in housing and health care and consumer debt. We would have had a better and cleaner environment, and we would have a wiser solution to foreign affairs. We would have even solved the border crisis properly, not the jacked up, expensive, stupid, and dangerous atrocity that Trump is backing. That's where we should be now. But had we elected Harris and Walz, and then even if Republicans had blocked everything that Kamala wanted to do, because the purpose of Republican congressmen is to be the only reason why we can't have nice things, then even if all she did was hold together what Biden had already started, we would still be a free country and a proud superpower holding the standard global currency. All that's gone. Yet there are still people singing about how they're proud to be an American, even when we're no longer free, because they still don't know what they've done. They're so stupid, they think Donald Trump is Jesus Christ incarnate. He should be a false god incarcerated, because Trump is everything the Founding Fathers warned us about and tried to prevent. But it's even worse than all that. Because while Trump really is stunningly stupid, and he has never done anything that didn't benefit himself first, what is happening now goes beyond mere incompetence. Remember that Trump idolizes tyrants. He has said many times that he wants to be a tyrant himself. He wants his subjects to fear his iron fist. And that's why he buddies up to Putin. That's why he's doing what Putin did when Putin took over the Russian Federation. Remember that between Trump's first and second term, Trump was in frequent and illegal private communication with Vladimir Putin. This is when Trump had all of those stolen classified documents that he was foolishly showing to anyone who wanted to see them. He also uploaded at least some of that to no one knows who. I have a pretty good guess. Trump has had a number of private, personal meetings with Putin, wherein there were no notes or recordings, and anyone present was sworn to secrecy, so that we'll never know what was said. All we do know is that Trump bows to whatever Putin says. It's also evident that Trump will do whatever Putin does, or whatever Putin wants Trump to do. Did you know that Vladimir Putin personally amended the Constitution of the Russian Federation a few years ago, without any opposition from anyone? Because on that day, the entire Russian Federation government resigned. They were replaced by Putin loyalists. And then there were no more free and fair elections in Russia anymore, really not since Putin was elected the first time. Instead, his opponents have a tendency of accidentally falling out of skyscraper windows or something like that. And now Trump is talking about changing the Constitution himself to stay in for more terms. And he's firing the entire American government, replacing them all with his own ignorant, incompetent toadies. And he's already disappearing people to foreign gulags. You know how Trump dismisses every investigation into any of the 97 criminal charges against him? He calls them all a witch hunt, even though they're all real. That's why he also says that about Russia, 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 because it's true. Remember, in the pandemic, Trump secretly and illegally shipped cases of COVID testing kits to Russia when they were still not sufficiently available here yet. Because Trump puts Russia first. Always has. This, I think, is why Trump levied tariffs on everyone except Russia, estranging the U.S. from all of our trading partners, abandoning our allies in arms, becoming in effect an enemy of NATO. Trump's goal, I think, is to sink our economy on purpose so that we are no longer a valuable ally of NATO, so that we are no longer the richest economy, so that we will no longer, so that we'll be so weak, all of us, that we are no longer a threat to Russia, and so that we will only be an asset to Russia. Trump made noise about going to war with Panama because Panama doesn't let Russian ships go through their canals. He talked about annexing Greenland because then it wouldn't be in the hands of a NATO country, which, of course, is opposed to Russia. It's not like Trump thought that Canada would ever become the 51st state, when Puerto Rico should have been many years ago. And you know, Trump's not going to do that. It is far more likely that Trump thinks the U.S. will become like Russia is now, or worse, that we may even become part of Russia, the United States of Putin. It's going to get a lot worse for you, especially those of you who voted for Trump. And if you don't learn how to learn from your mistakes by first admitting that you made a mistake, then it won't ever get any better. America will never be as great as it was at any time since World War II, but before Trump. America will never be as great as it was before Trump.